You're listening to Life Check Yourself with life coach, transformational leader, and dating and relationship badass, Marni Batista. Every week, you'll get the raw truth from top experts and real people on the important life and love issues you want to know about. So if you're ready to life check yourself in your relationships, your career, and the areas of your life that matter most to you, and you're not afraid to be called out on your, stuff, then you're ready for what's next.
Life Check Yourself with Dr. Emily Owens and Chris Gillis. Can I get him to commit? Ladies, happy holidays. Woo, 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 woo. Welcome to Life Check Yourself. Oh, I want to life check Michelle Young. We are going to talk about the Bachelorette, but what we're really going to talk about is the age-old problem of having, I think, a possible bad picker, going for the hot guy, going for the guy who makes your china pot tingle, who gives you fanny flutters, ignoring the nice guy, like going against your parents' best piece of advice. I mean, so much here in this grande finale of 2021, the year of like 10,000 episodes of the Bachelor franchise, back to 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 back. So let's get started. So basically what happened, for those of you that don't watch, there was a average amazing woman. And when I mean average amazing, I mean she's like one of us. She works hard. Yeah. She's brilliant. She's athletic. She's beautiful, really smart, successful in everything but love. She goes to a reality TV show to find love, ends up dating 30 men, and picks the guy who who has never had a girlfriend, never been in a relationship, and doesn't talk about his feelings. And yes, I think we should have Dr. Emily join this episode. Oh, well, get her in. Is she available? I just got a little. My producer just sent me a message.
You're the next guest.
Exactly.
Come on in. Oh, let's put this.
Come on, Dr. Emily.
Situation. Let's come around the old Yule fire, and let's do this.
I know. I would. Dr. Emily, what's up?
Yeah, what's up?
I'm so happy to hear your voice. I miss you so much.
No, I miss you too. I'm so happy. Special surprise. I get to hop in.
I know.
Myself even.
I know. And talk about the. So to me, so we're talking generally about like women who pick the guy that everyone is like, oh, honey, no. When the guy who's really nice likes you. And I was messaging you guys last night and I was like, this happens every day in real life, basically. Like you're everyone around this person is like, oh God, why is she working so hard for this guy? But the person doesn't see it. So, Dr. Emily, like, what do you think about this situation, this situationship?
Oh my God. I know. I was thinking the same thing the whole time, is like, because I mean, I think obviously the answer is she's more attracted to Nayte, and especially in like the time frame that we're talking about, like weeks here, she has more of a lust, more of an attraction to Nayte. And I think that's what's like driving this whole thing. But yeah, then I was thinking, how, if you were in a similar situation and you like logically knew and even emotionally knew, hey, this guy is healthier for me, this other guy is healthier for me, he's more stable, he's more, available, all that good stuff. Yeah. Do you just, you can do anything. You can just say, you know what, I need to back off of this lust thing. And over time, probably this other thing will grow into something a lot healthier and more stable. But I think that's really hard. You have to have so much insight and so much like long-term thinking to be able to do that.
No, totally. I think that's so great. By the way, tell everyone, Dr. Emily's, for those of you who don't know, what's your background? Why are we calling you Dr. Emily?
Oh, because I am a doctor. I'm a clinical psychologist.
Yeah, exactly. We're not just like, having some lame ass chick calling her Dr. Emily. We've got a fucking clinical psychologist on our show. Okay. Who is also the love interest of Mr. Chris Gillis. Okay, so listen, here's the thing that I think. Let's talk about body language and such. So I think the scene where Brandon, who's the nice guy, and Michelle, he's saying, I really love you. And she's like, I really love you. And they're just hugging. And it feels to me as an observer of a scene, very authentic and not very much acting, so to speak. Like, it just feels very soft and very sweet and tender. And then I look at Nayte and Michelle on After the Final Rose. Because in that scene, we're supposed to believe that that's them authentically. Nayte wasn't able to be himself, like, and express. So here they are. And I just got like the giddy high school girl who, like, the prom king asked her out and it's my boyfriend. I'm like so excited. Oh my God, it's going to be amazing. I got that energy from it. Not like this like powerful, soft sort of like love. I don't know. Do you think anybody else feel that way?
Yeah, I definitely got that. And this is a good thing to chat about because I have seen it work where people have they marry their prom king, and every day they wake up with this gratitude, and they talk about, shut up about it on Facebook, and and they're just so. Every day they wake up and they feel like they won. This is look what I got sort of thing. This is my man, And I wonder if that's kind of consistent with what she was saying in the end. She goes, hey, I have to go after something that I've never felt. I've always wanted, but always been denied. And and I've never felt I really deserve it. Now I feel, you know what? I deserve it. And it is such a different feeling versus almost that, what's that word? Is it philia? That the love that Brandon seemed to give her. It was almost like a beautiful, unconditional parental. It didn't have those lust sparks. It was just this godly style, like, no matter, I will love you, break my heart, and I will still. It was very much godly. You trample on me, I will love you unconditionally, which is such a warm, cozy blanket versus this, like you mentioned, Marni, that passion, that fire, that high school, a sweetheart thing, that giddy thing. Gosh, and she talked a lot about her high school experiences. So it did kind of, trigger me like, wow, I wonder if she is kind of going back and flipping that switch on first. It needs to get that checked off before she can move on to that longer.
It's like that girl, like, like that was never the popular girl that finally gets the hot guy. And you're like, oh my God, I can't believe I finally did it.
Right. Then the other thing she's saying the whole time is I refuse to be in another relationship where I'm more invested than the other person. So I'm like,
but she just did that, didn't she?
Like, you literally just, you can't have both, right? You can't, I mean, I don't know, maybe you can, but like in this setup that she has for herself, she's really set herself up to fail, where she's like, I must have this, winning prom king guy who's I'm almost reaching for, and I must have somebody who like loves me more than I love them. It's like, wait, what? It's
so interesting too that she, I think that she was possibly feeling crappy about the fact that she told Brandon, like, I love you, like, a day before she dumped him.
Yeah.
And what she said was that in that moment, at that point, she felt like he was going to be her dude. But then Nayte comes back on the next day, and after much coaching and cajoling, there was one line that she said, and I can't remember what was in After the Final Rose or during the episode, where I literally was like, oh my God, she just was talking like you would talk to a kid. Yeah. I wish I could remember that moment.
Emily, you said it. You were watching. She goes, do you have anything else to say? Or like,
oh yeah, she's like prodding him. Yeah, we kept saying, our Joe kept saying was like that Nayte kept saying line.
Yeah, he's like, you do this one, you do this one.
Like he's practicing rehearsing. He's forgetting. Shit, what's the line? Keeps calling to the director. And then it was cringy. Yeah, she kept saying, okay, she would start him off and set him on the path, and she's like, okay, are you a big boy? Can you pedal down the driveway by yourself now? No training wheels. Mama's not gonna hold you. And he's like, oh yeah, I can. But then like you said, Marni, you fast forward to the end. And shit, it seems like it is what she wants, and he's and he's getting there. And we talked about it last week, and guy's just on a different speed. He's on getting out of reverse or kind of in a neutral because she's pushing him, right? But at least he's not in fucking reverse and his e-brake, his commitment e-brake on. But she's pushing him and pushing him. She is a teacher, Marni. That's what she does, right?
Yeah, no, it's so true. And also, it's like like talk about rushing shit, right? Okay, let's do the setup of the show, as Dr. Emily said, is, you meet someone and you get engaged in 6 weeks. That's ridiculous anyway. But unless you're like 65 or 70, I have seen people older do this, and I'm all for it. Okay, but anyway, because life is short. But then this poor guy, they're like, okay, we're going to go here. You're going to move to fucking Minneapolis. Yeah. You're going to do here. And now the fucking network is going to give us $200,000 to buy a house. So now we're going to settle up. Now, here's what's interesting, and I'd love for you guys to talk about this. When he's talking about his love in the parent interview, he talks about being like a wanderer and an adventurer, and they're going to adventure together, and they have this adventure thing, and that ultimately, sure, they'll settle down. Well, feels like, and this is really important too, when you're trying to possibly change a guy, she's trying to fit him into this mold of grown-ass man living in Minneapolis with the teacher wife, having this stable Midwestern life. What do you think? Do you think that can go well? Do you think you can change someone into being who, being that person?
Again, I'll say you can do anything. But
right, that is true. Well said.
I'll just say, I loved Michelle's sister was asked the perfect follow-up question on that, because that was that was when he was saying, I'm good with moving, and she's like, okay, you're good with moving. Are you good with staying?
Yeah, that was so good.
I'll just say I don't see it working out, right? Because he needs to get there himself. He needs to choose for himself. I am ready to be in a place where I want to settle down, and I want to have a house, and I want to put down roots. And I think, if he feels like rushed into that or forced into that, it's gonna pop out in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah. Marni, one of the things that I think you do a great job, coaching your clients on is asking open-ended, asking actually open questions, and not coaching, needing an answer, but being vulnerable and leaving the space of complete acceptance early on versus, hey, I need you. And and she has that. And I'm sure it's hard when you're super thirsty over somebody to not have an actual preference of what they say, but to have that self-love and being like, I'm okay if you're not my person, while you're getting to know them, versus, fuck, dude, he walked out of that thing. She saw he's 6'8", Nayte, and it was like over. If this would have been like Love Is Blind or something like that, remember one of those quick?
Oh yeah.
It would have went very different.
Oh my God, totally.
That's neither here nor there. But I do wish that that she we always tell people, Marni, and I say it as well, is like, it's just shut up and listen to your man and listen to what he says. Nayte said what he said, who he is and wants to be right now. He wants to be a wanderer. He wants to explore. He wants to adventure. Awesome, dude. He didn't say anything about, I really want to lay roots. I want to, move to Minnesota and get into hunting and fishing. No, that's not what he's in, but it's sad. Yeah, it's frustrating, and then I feel like the show's not fucking forcing his hand. I don't money anymore. Here's $200,000.
No, here's the thing. You have to stay together for 2 years to keep the ring. What's the stipulation on the $200,000? That's what I want to know.
I want to know so badly.
We got to Google that shit. I have another question for you. So what do you think about this idea of Brandon being so stellar in the breakup? because you see so many of these situations where someone has to, when somebody breaks up with you, and I'm making this very universal, even if you've dated someone like 5 times or gone on 6 dates or something, you know, and someone breaks up with you, and the natural tendency is, in order for us to feel good, we have to say the other person's an asshole, basically, right? Yeah. Like, his loss, what a jerk, he never did that anyway. And I really want to give Brandon credit. He was like so articulate, and he just really showed, like, I really do care about you. And I do want you to be happy. And, you know, if it's not me, then I just wish you all the happiness in the world. And I love also that little scene, or what he said about, he went after the breakup and he's sitting at the beach, he's looking at the ocean. He just like talked about like the beauty and the chaos, and like really having this spiritual point of view of like, there's something, this is happening, and this is messy feelings, and there's beauty in it. And I just feel like, as a human, this kid really grew, and I hope he stays true to that. You know, I hope the trauma of putting his heart on the line doesn't impact his ability to really be the nice, sweet kid that he seems to be.
I totally agree. Yeah, I have every part of the way he handled it, I thought was just so beautiful. And he showed so much emotion. He had so much emotion. He wasn't, you know, trying to be cold and reserved about it. And even the other part that I really loved was in the After the Final Rose interview, where he said, of course, I still love Michelle, but I understand that I have to do that in like a respectful way. I can't remember how he said it, but it was really perfect, where he's like, yeah, I'm not going to be this guy who's still like sending you love letters and stuff when you have chosen somebody else. I can understand my love has to change, and I can love you from a distance, or I can just care about you as a person. Everything he said is like so beautiful.
For sure. And for the record, for the ladies listening, as a male, and as a male who's coached other males during breakup, and as a man who's been through breakups, that is not normal. What that man did was otherworldly. So gals, do not get it twisted. You're not going to see that. Don't, come into Marni, like, why'd my man do this and this, and fucking punch his hand through the drywall. Now that's more on brand with how males generally operated. What he did was insane. His EQ was through the roof, and I was blown away. And even as articulate as he showed up in the end, he had the wisdom. Good old Caitlin sat him on the couch and was like, kind of got him fired up, and in the audience claps for him. He's like, well, what do you want to say? And he started talking. Actually, I just want to listen.
I loved that too, Chris. I was like, what a badass dude.
God damn it.
He read Bennett's book.
Oh, Bennett's book.
For those of you who don't play, Bennett is this other guy who one time gave from Harvard, who gave one of his castmates a book on emotional intelligence so that he could thrive in human relationships. So let's talk about this too. Because I think we've talked about this on the show so many times, this idea about like convincing a guy to commit versus giving him space to commit. And I'm really curious about this. I think there are humans with penises who don't know how to articulate, and sometimes it's helpful to like sort of like reflect back, like, what I think you're saying is this, or to kind of like help guide if someone's not super comfortable, or ask clarifying questions, which maybe Michelle was doing. Or was she actually just being like, okay, let me ask you for the 5th time, motherfucker. Are you ready to like, just cuff, what do you call that? Cuff, whatever, like connect and be my boo and let's do this. Like, do you think there was any like morsel of, I get that, like sometimes you have to do that with the situation? Or do you think she just asked the question so many times that he got good at answering it to where finally he was like, it's like an actor, like say, like he said it, the song, he used the song analogy, right? Like you hear a song and by the 10th time you really like it. I know I didn't even allow you to answer. So answer the question and then we'll talk about the song analogy.
Well, Emily kept saying that it's fascinating. The last couple episodes, like Nayte is, like you said, he's just starting off in emotional kindergarten, and he learned the last season, our last episode was he learned the word love, and today lessons love, and the second one was scared. Yeah, he's like, oh, okay, scared. He's like learning his feelings and how to taking it, day by day, and she teaches fifth graders or third graders or whatever. So he's right up there, maybe a little behind on really learning to recognize and say that. And who knows, Marn? I don't know. She seems to be patient enough, and I'm sure you met some couples, and you're like face palming. You're like, how in the hell do they stand each other? Do they somehow have that grace and patience for each other to get there? But gosh, if it seems like a lot of work, nothing that I would want to sign up for.
I mean, go ahead, Emily. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say, same thing. He is learning. He is growing. He did learn his two emotions, but then I was also thinking at the same time, like, we all know how important communication is, and Chris and I are both like, generally high IQ, psychologically intelligent people, and we have trouble communicating.
Yeah, me and Jeremy too.
Right. So I'm like, okay, yes, he's learning, but he's so behind. He has so few words to use. Like, that has to be a barrier for them.
Yeah. And I think, like, when you get in that, like, oh my God, like, I got the hot guy and it's so fun. And now we're going to go on Good Morning America. We got $200,000. And now we can, like, finally, like, have sex all the time. And it's going to be great. Kiss under the mistletoe, blah, blah, blah. That ultimately I always say getting to compatibility is kind of the easy part. It's getting back to compatibility. And what I see, because I was doing a little researching this morning and all these other Bachelor couples, and what I see is the theme, and even in the like Love Island couples that come together, there's this sort of like, distance keeps us apart. We both decided we wanted different things, keeps us apart. And I think in the end, that's just communication, right? Like, we can't communicate. We can't create connection. I'm telling him what I want. He can't do it. He's telling her what he needs. She can't do it. And I think that, I give them 3 months, but maybe it's 6. I don't know. But I just think you're right. I think that in the end, when the shit gets real, which is, by the way, Brandon was like, I can't remember again when he said it, but he was like, we're going to have problems. Like, I know we're going to have them. Like, I'm just waiting for that to happen. And when it does, like, we'll be able to get through it, and I'm committed and all those kinds of things. Whereas, freaking La La Land, Nayte and Michelle are like, we're going to be happy forever.
God, isn't it? What's a big takeaway from this season for me is, Marni, you coach some extremely powerful, ass-kicking, intelligent, from all sorts of different levels women, and who just got it all together, and yet they still make decisions where we're just like, what the fuck? And like you said, she's like going back, I'm all about my parents. I want to love. That's not the parents' love. That's exactly, she said. It's so inconsistent with what she said. What you say you want and what you end up doing, even though you have all the pressure of the entire United States and then some part of the world watching you, cheering you on, we still tend to swing and steer toward that all familiar gutter that led us down that wrong path. I'm not saying it's a gutter, but at least that direction, despite all the coaching and awareness and time and like a special isolated test tube like situation where you're in this bachelor mansion motel. God damn it, it's still hard to have a smart picker.
Well, absolutely. And let's talk about the parents. I was so happy, by the way, you guys. I was watching with all my flock, my tribe of 3 daughters. And the mom and dad are like, this is kind of what we think. Like, the nice guy is really nice, and the other guy kind of is a nice person, but I don't know. And the girls were like, you should always listen. Your mom's always right.
Hey.
I was thinking about, like, how many times on this show have we watched this go down where the parents like have a definite preference, the person picks the other one, and then they break up 6 months later. Like, it's incredible.
Peter. Oh yeah, Pilot Peter. Remember Pilot Pete's awesome mom, Barb?
Oh yeah, and she was just like, "Don't do it, bro." And
I was also so impressed with Michelle's mom for being, as Nayte said, a straight shooter. Especially, like, she's from Minnesota. We know people from Minnesota are not straight shooters, and she was so good at just saying exactly, here's the problem. Yeah, I think you're a nice guy. I think you have good intentions, but this is what I'm not seeing, or this is what I am seeing. And it was like just so perfectly said. And yeah, I was just thinking the same thing Chris was talking about. Like Michelle kept saying, I want to love like my parents. And I think the mistake she made was she's looking for who's somebody I can be happy with the same way my parents are happy. And maybe what she should look for is who can I have fights with the same way my parents fight? Because obviously if they've been together this long, they fight well. They they can communicate, they can get through. She said it. She's like, they've gotten through really hard times. Maybe that's what you should be looking for, Michelle. Like, you can be happy with anybody for a week. What about when things go wrong? I'm sure her dad doesn't communicate the way Nayte does. Like, she needs to be looking for, how are my parents when they struggle, and how can I find somebody who's similar to that if I'm going in this route of I want to be like my parents.
And I think that is so amazing. You know, I just yesterday got a text from one of my clients that I worked with for years. You know, we helped her like get rid of, like, peel the onion layer like for a couple years because it was pretty thick, and then meet this guy. She almost sabotaged it because of the syndrome we're talking about, right? Like the nice guy. She was like, I don't know, he's too nice. Stay in it. And they went through, like, he had a physical struggle. He had a job struggle. She has a daughter, becoming a teenager, merging like lives, like from one part of Los Angeles to the other, right? And all of these struggles. And what she said to me was like, and they're looking at rings and all of these really great things. And she's, you know, in her like early 50s. And she said, like, I wouldn't have been able to go through, I would have left this relationship a million times if I didn't have clarity on what I was really looking for, what was really important, and the skills to navigate through all those challenges that are real life. And I think that's what you just said, Emily. Like, make sure that when you're dating, you're actually looking for the right things.
It reminds me a little bit. How do you know what those right things are? Because what I felt like the Nayte and the Michelle attraction, it was like that pure, innocent. And Nayte, he is very boy-like, which is fun. It's attractive, and he is very, you know, he wants adventure and play. And I think that does bring up that, you know, last picked, you know, button inside her that she has this childlike high school infatuation. So yeah, how do you know which picker or how to when to listen to it and when not to listen to it, you know, versus that lust versus that intellectual attraction on what spreadsheet, you know, pulling out, well, this guy does this and this would be right, versus listening to having that balance of chemistry and also long-term, you know, love.
Well, I mean, I'll tell you what I think, and then I'm here what Dr. Emily thinks, because she sees so many patients in so many different situations that I'm sure ask these questions, go through these things. But I mean, I think you have to have clarity on what it is that's your values that are actually going to be this. I say there's 5, like, right? And those are the 5 fights you'll never have that are like the sustainable basic core values that it goes next to, right? Like that you align up with. And by the way, adventure can be one of them. Like, I know that was something I was looking for in Jeremy. Like, adventure was like a deal breaker for me, just as much as like, not necessarily like being completely having this like dialed in emotional intelligence necessarily, but always having a value on learning and growing, so that no matter what happens, wherever we both are, like, we're committed to like working through it and learning and growing what we need to have, right? So it's not like they're just sort of soft skills. There can be like, you know, things like adventure, but really getting clear on what those things are. And then I think this is really important, and you said it earlier. And then actually realizing that with most men, what you see is what you get at the core. And so if he says like, I'm growing feelings for you, or like, if she ends up being the one, like, I love all the tweets that are showing the complete like oppositions between Nayte and Brandon of even the actual words they use to describe their feelings. One is like 100% in, and one is 1 foot in. And so so I think that those are like things that are really important to look for, because I think what happens with a lot of us is that we become selectively mute. We hear what we want to hear and we filter everything through the lens of hopefulness and possibility. Yeah. Emily, what do you think? That is the thing that you really got to look for.
I mean, you definitely nailed it with values and also everything else you said. But the thing I was thinking of with values that's really important is it's a long-term game.
Yeah.
If you are playing a short-term game where you're like, I feel happy now and I feel lustful now, and isn't that what I should be going towards? You're going to be falling on your face every time, right? Like values come with pain. I always give people the example of like having a baby. If you have a value of being like a good parent or a nurturing parent, and you have a colicky 3-month-old, that is pain. Like to act on that value is painful.
Brilliant.
Right. So it's pursuing your values does not always, and actually I feel like most of the time, does not mean you're going to be happy while you're pursuing them or you're going to feel great while you're pursuing them. But over the long term, you will be feeling better. You will be feeling happier. You will be feeling more connected. So that's where I think, and that's where I see here with Nayte and Brandon is she's like, I feel good. I feel, excited about Nayte, and that's what I need to be going towards. Mm. And I think if she had more of this long-term view of, what's this going to look like in 2 years when, I'm changing jobs and he needs money or whatever? How are we going to communicate? How is that actually going to look? I think that would have served her a lot better.
Here's $1 million question for you girls.
The $200,000 question.
Here's $200,000. Do you guys, now that you've seen it, a full episode, season, do you guys think Michelle's actually ready to be ready to be married?
I mean, I think over the course of this show, it is a show, I observed a lot of things that made me feel like she's not emotionally available to actually receive the kind of love that Brandon is shown to, as a character on the show, is shown to want to give to her. Yeah. I don't think her receiving levels are like up to the level of healthiness. And while Martin may have been a douchebag in his delivery and his appropriateness of saying stuff on TV, I do feel like every time someone was like really giving her a lot, like she felt so uncomfortable. Yet when she was the teacher, when she was, doing the convincing, and like that was more comfortable for her. So I think she picked her perfect, emotionally unavailable match.
Yeah.
What do you think, Dr. Emily?
I think that she came in with this big chip on her shoulder from past relationship that she was so hurt by. And she kept saying this thing of, I'm never going to let that happen again. I'm never going to let that happen again. But I don't think she had a game plan for how are you not going to let that happen again? Like what actually happened, and where were there signs that you ignored, and how are you going to not ignore those signs again? And I think I obviously don't know what happened in her past relationship, but it kind of seems like she did the exact same thing. She had all these warning signs.
Yep.
She had her mom telling her, I don't know about this guy. Ignore, ignore, ignore. I got to go with my feelings. And now here we are.
Yeah. And I think you all should rewind and like literally write down what Dr. Emily just said is like, what's your game plan? Because if you say, I'm never going to do that again, or I really learned from that, right? Like, how are you actually in action going to date or be differently in the dating experience so that you don't fall into those pre-programmed neural ruts that are there? Because it doesn't happen through willpower, as we see again and again and again. And when I was doing this research, I happened to see like the old Dale Moss, Claire Crawley, breaking up 14 times, and that's a great, and now they're done. But that's another great example of like not having a game plan to fix the actual problem that lands you in that rut where you repeat the pattern. And knowledge about it, awareness of it, like willpower, it just doesn't cut it.
No, love it. Yeah. Also, Michelle's mom said something really interesting, and she said they were interviewing, hey, basically how the talk go, and Michelle's mom almost sadly is like, well, Michelle's she's like a perennial, she's optimistic. And so, Marn, what do you think about, being optimistic versus being blind or being like overly pragmatic? Because it seems like it's healthy. You don't want to shoot things down, but also to be that overly optimistic person who believes they can get somebody there or it will turn out. Versus how do you maintain that balance early on in a relationship?
That's such a good question. I mean, I think that I always tell people to stay curious, open, and optimistic while they're going through those things, right? Yeah, like be curious, be open to whatever it is, and then be optimistic. And then over time, collect data and have fun while you're doing it and pay attention to the data. And ask clarifying questions and follow up. And I think that what a lot of people do is a guy will say something like, yeah, I mean, I never really, I mean, I'm sure I'm open for a relationship if I met the right person. Right. And so what's the follow-up question? Like, well, what does that look like for you? What are you thinking about that? What does she have? What are the qualities? Why are you actually not then actively looking for a relationship? Like, don't just let those things stand. That's why the curiosity is an important piece.
Totally.
Love it.
Love it. Okay, let's talk. Let's bless this season and let's bless this season and release this season. And it was the lowest watched show ever in the history of Bachelorette for whatever reasons. But I think that this year was one in which a lot of crap happened in Bachelor Nation. I mean, we had Matt James, we had Chris Harrison getting fired, we had trying to make up for lost time and crushing 17 seasons in one calendar year. We had a lot of trying to fix broken parts of the system. We had people wanting to be on this show more than ever for the wrong reasons.
We had people leaving the show or after they met their guy, in 2 episodes in.
Yeah, I mean, it was just chaos, right? Yeah, it was a shit show. But if you were going to kind of think about what can our listeners really take away around really finding healthy romantic love from what we talked about this whole season, what is it? What do you think it is?
That's a great question. So what are the takeaways? So 2021 Bachelor takeaways on this.
I have one. I'll start one just to get you thinking. I was thinking that it's sabotage, that how we sabotage perfectly good possibilities. I'm thinking about Abigail on Bachelor in Paradise with what was that guy's name? Noah. I'm thinking about Michelle. I'm thinking about even Matt James, and all the ways he sabotaged. Now, he was able to overcome that because apparently they're still together, Rachel Kirkconnell, but there was a lot of just sabotage. Abigail also on his season, not following up on things. Claire, all of these people that kind of basically did what Emily was saying. They had a reason to do things different and they had an opportunity to change it in real time and they couldn't. And it's really about what's your game plan. That's kind of my takeaway. What about you guys?
One of the recurring takeaway I saw, and gosh, so many of these relationships fail, especially the ones where you can't wish and hope or do a sort of seance to get to get the person there.
Yes.
So we're all on different clocks, paces. We'll get there when you get there, and you can't drag your horse into where you want him to be. And if you do, he's going to be resentful or she, and it's going to go the wrong way. And you've seen that with so many of these yeah, these relationships. And it's funny. I'm watching. I'm like, God damn, I really am invested. I'm now starting to get pissed off that I've spent so much time rooting and cheering these people on, and they don't listen. And then I'm like, I told you so. But I'm like, oh. I feel like, the moms or whatever that are on the show is like, God damn it, we saw it happening. But yeah, it's really you can't force the issue, and you have to let people come at their own pace and just shut up and listen to them instead of putting words in their mouth. They'll tell you what you need to hear, maybe not what you want to hear.
Ooh, I love that. That's amazing. What about you, Dr. Emily?
Okay, I kind of have I guess maybe a positive, which is I think from watching many years of this show, I think this year people got a lot better at identifying the narcissist.
Yes, true. So true.
So many years of watching The Bachelor, we've seen that person scrape by the Luke P. They just weasel their way out of confrontation, and they talk in circles, and they do. Yeah. And this year it was it started with Katie, where she was just with the tall guy.
Oh, he was on Bachelor in Paradise. He was making out in the background of the finale.
Yeah, exactly. What's that with Becca?
6'6" guy.
Yeah, I'm blanking on his name, but it started with that, where she was just like, nope, your Bachelor audition is over. We saw Michelle do it a couple of times with Jamie, where she's just like, all of those signs are coming out. Nope. I think it maybe happened, but either way, yeah, I think I'm seeing improvement in Bachelor Nation on identifying these people, and it's this style of talk, and it's this way of not answering questions directly. And I think people are maybe getting better at noticing that and just saying, nope, goodbye.
I love that. By the way, it's Thomas. Becca is with Thomas now. Thomas was the villain on that other show. Yeah, I agree. And I think that's really amazing. I think whether it's the producers stopped saying keep this guy around because we need it for entertainment, or the cast was like, you know what, I'm not playing that. I'm not doing that. I don't want to waste my time. I think that was amazing. And I think that it really shows that if you are doing if we're listening and we're seeing and we're trusting our gut, that's a boundary that is a really amazing one to set. And you know what else? I think that is just also a great mirror of what happens in the dating process, is that as we grow in our consciousness and our emotional intelligence, it gets not easy, but we can say no to those douchebag guys, right? Whereas before we couldn't. So my wish, so now we'll go into our wish. What's our wish for 2022? My wish is that now starts to happen with the guys that are emotionally unavailable, right? Now we can set boundaries with the guys that are the lusty guys and start really looking at what is it that I really need for the long term that you said, Dr. Emily. That would be my wish for 2022, is to yep, you're good at spotting the jerk and you can say no and get him out. Now let's date to the next level. What about you? What do you guys think?
I got a wish.
What's your wish?
My wish is that we redefine and really analyze the cliche phrase, listen to your heart.
Yes.
Yes. Really, because God damn it, it's this rubber stamp that you put on anything with it. You got to make a dumb shit decision. Oh, I'm listening to I always I listen to my heart. And just, not to get to write it and throw it all and sweep it under the rug for making poor decisions, and really taking ownership and getting clear on, well, what does that mean to listen to my heart? And likely is this all emotional, or there's some intellect and carefulness going on. And I would like to see people continue to, you said it earlier, Marni, you said there's 5 things, something like that, to have a balance. And you can't just rely on one particular sense. Your eyesight, for example, that's the one, I'm done.
Right.
Versus opening up and using your ears and listening, and then maybe time to listen, maybe use your heart and then use your brain. And I'd love to see it kind of encompass all those aspects instead of just that blatant, I just got to go with my heart.
We call it on our campus holographic decision making, where you're using your intellect, your emotion, and your intuition. Right? All 3 are firing to make a decision, because I think you're right. Your heart and your gut sometimes are at war.
Mm-hmm.
And so I love that. I love looking at all aspects of that. What do you think, Dr. Emily? What's your wish?
I think it's so similar to that and stuff we've already talked about, which is what you see is what you get.
Yeah.
Collect the data, and then don't go back and change the data because, maybe he actually meant this, or maybe he did that because of this. No, what you see is what you get. The data is the data. Pay attention and use it wisely.
I love that. And also, I just have to say, as we wrap this up, one thing I really hope they don't do in 2022. First of all, we get a new host, so I'm very grateful for that. Yay, professional host. I also really hope that they stop putting positive attention on cyberbullying that was happening last night. That really pissed me off. I can see all these people being like, what's the meanest thing I can say so I can be on TV? And I just think that's bullshit. And I hope that they never do that again. I felt so bad for that kid, Clayton, Clayton, whatever his name is. And while every bone in my body says I'm not watching it, ladies, guess what? You know we're watching it, and you know we'll be back in 2022. And I closed my eyes during the trailer because Reality Reina said, I heard that they basically show the final 3 and like they preview it So I just closed my eyes and focused on my knitting because the truth is, and did I tell you this? I already knew that Nayte won.
Yeah, I know. I remembered that last night because we were like, Marni, catch up. And then we were like, wait, I remembered that, like, Marni.
Freaking Reality Steve. I accidentally was Googling something and Reality Steve wasn't talking about what I was looking about. It was now he was talking about the future. I mean, he was talking about what was happening in real life, not on TV. And that was the end, And so I was like, so I knew it was Nayte the whole time. I didn't like that. It wasn't very fun. So I closed my eyes.
She knew it was Nayte the first time. We kind of all did, which was annoying, but yeah.
So for the last time in 2021, let's say Nayte. In our very special way, we say Nayte as we close out this show. Nayte! Nayte!
Oh,
I love you. Dr. Emily, come back more often to Life Check Yourself. We love to have you on the show. Chris Gillis, thank you for your year of service. You're amazing. I wish all of our listeners, our wish for the Bachelorette franchise in 2022 is our wish for you in your dating and relationship journey. Just do what we said and you'll be a success story. For now, happy holidays and don't forget, Life Check Yourself. We'll see you next time. Bye. Hey, thanks for tuning into today's show. So if being in an intimate relationship in which you feel 100% seen, heard, and accepted by a high caliber man is a priority for you right now, and you're interested in seeing if you're a fit for working with me and my team at Dating with Dignity, here's what I want you to do. Just head over to DWD VIP. That's D as in dating, W, D as in dating, VIP.com, and book a call to speak with my team. We'll get on the phone with you for about 60 minutes and you'll get crystal clear on what's stopping you from finding true love right now. We'll also take a look at what you want to create, what you want your whole life to look like when you're able to finally be fully expressed as a woman in a healthy relationship with an incredible guy. And if we can help you get from where you are right now to where you want to be, we will show you the fastest path possible that makes sense for you to do that. We help smart, successful women all over the world solve this one missing piece in their life so they can finally have it all. So to see if we can help you do the same thing, head over to DWDVIP.com. I'm Marni Batista, and let's talk soon.